Not bad. Happy dozening. Happy dozening. Where the common games are losing. Happy dozening to you. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the Gaming Galleon. I'm Cap'n Raz, your host, your humble host, who just happens to have a pirate ship filled with video games. And on top of it, the ability to move our fair ship to the settings in which these video games take place. It's a special time here on the Galleon. It's Dirty Dozen season. For the past 3 weeks, I have pledged to play nothing but 12 games that were found in a pawn shop, by hook or by crook, on one platform, in this case, the Evercade, which prides itself in having cartridges, but cartridges that have more than one game on it. Now, the last voyage, we spoke extensively about the Evercade and the many games found with it when I walked into a video game store and found it all wrapped up in one big plastic mess. I was then tasked with the decision of boiling all of those 12 compilations found with the Evercade down to one game per compilation. It was a long and arduous task, and I would say for the most part, I did a fine job. I don't know much, but I think I'm pretty good when it comes to creating a fair and alluring video game event. Many speculated as to what games would be on the roster, and many were happy to see what ended up, some not so much, but you can't please everyone, even if you're picking the games yourself. Yes, there were even some games I chose for the roster that I wasn't particularly excited about. I wasn't particularly excited about being stuck with them for an entire month. But for the good of the competition and for the good of the campaign, the pilgrimage, only playing 12 games from day one all the way to the final minute of February, I felt that I chose a well-rounded and alluring roster. Let's go through them very quickly. In the Jalico Arcade collection, we chose Cybadler. Cybadler is a vertical scrolling top-down shooter where you play a robot. I don't think anyone had any real complaints about this game when it was chosen and throughout the season. Atari Collection 1, we chose our racing game. A racing game for the Atari 7800 where you play as a motorcyclist. Very similar to, say, Hang On by Sega. However, the wrinkle in Motorcycle is you were allowed to jump. You have, instead of a block button, a braking button, a jump button. And it made for a pretty good time. The Oliver Twins collection, we chose Dizzy. Oh, I should probably say the objectives, huh? Cybadler, the objective was high score, with no continues, starting from the beginning. In Motorcycle, highest score on the green track. The Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy was the game we chose for the Oliver Twins collection, a British developer run by a couple of teenagers. There's like 10 million Dizzies in here. Dizzy was a fantastic adventure. There goes my gel. A fantastic adventure about an egg trying to save his girlfriend from a wizard. First page, of course. There's Dizzy. It's a big wide world out there for Dizzy and lots to explore. The objective being, by the end of the month, find the least amount of stars out of 250 in this vast wide world. The Sydney Hunter Collection, the indie game of the season, maybe one of the more controversial ones. Some people seem to have not been too particularly happy with the developer after playing some of the other Sydney Hunter games. Collector Vision. I guess some of their games aren't so good. The game that we played was designed for the Sega Master System, not called the Caverns of Death. We played Sydney Hunter and the Sacred Tribe, tasked only with finding the most diamonds before gaming over. Pretty easy stuff. I liked Sydney Hunter, still do. Didn't beat it, pretty challenging, but I liked it. The Data East Collection. Inside here, there was some Super Nintendo games, some Nintendo games, and when I found out that there was a fighting game called Fighter's History, I simply had to go with it. It's very much like Street Fighter 2, but it has unique characters of its own, and it was definitely competent and kept up with Street Fighter in my opinion. The objective there was the most points, no continues. Pretty basic stuff. However, you had to play on the game's hardest difficulty. Some of the characters that you fight against able to take off 60 to 70% of your health in one shot. Technos Arcade, one of the more mysterious games, aptly named Mysterious Stones, The Adventures of Dr. John. It's a maze game of sorts, very reminiscent of Indiana Jones. You get in, you find the treasure, and you get out before your pontoon plane flies out of there at 8 in the morning. And then you fly to back to civilization, and whatever treasure you find, you are appraised for it. They give you a point appraisal. Sometimes it's dastardly, sometimes it is wondrous. The objective was get the highest appraisal in Mysterious Stones. Interplay Collection, Earthworm Jim was chosen mainly because it is a Sega Genesis game. We had a good amount of Super Nintendo, but we didn't have as much Sega Genesis. So I wanted to make sure Sega Genesis players had a good option. And they found it here within Earthworm Jim, I would say. Pretty common and well-known game from its time, and even today. And the objective for Earthworm Jim was simply to have the most ammo in your gun. More ammo than anyone else at any given moment. Could happen anywhere else, anywhere at all. You just need to show us the highest number. Technos Collection 1. A very exciting game pulled from this Crash in The Boys, the story of the least popular high school reaching over the heads of the elite in town, the private schools, showing that while their parents may have better statuses in life, the Crash and the Boys at Southside ruled the schools. The objective here was a triathlon of sorts. Get the finish water slaughter, a swimming competition, faster than anyone. Get the lowest amount of throws in hammer throw golf. And finally, do the fastest time in Skyline Scramble, a marathon where you're jumping from rooftop to rooftop. In addition, there are 4 high schools in Crash and the Boys. Southside, where Crash goes, Lincoln High, go Lincoln, Washington, and finally Jefferson High. And the objective was do your best in the triathlon. However, if you're not so good at one event and another player who's chosen the same team as you is better in a certain event, you can borrow their score and make your score better. However, if you're so good that you can actually beat everyone else on the board as far as performance in all 3 events, then you don't have to borrow from anyone, do you? You're the valedictorian. The Worms collection, there's 3 games on here. 2 of them are PC games, and 1 of them is a console game. And I grabbed the console game, and boy were people trying to roll my head over that one. Worms Blast is a puzzle game. That's why I chose it. It's also a handheld game, a Game Boy Advance game. The only game on all of these compilations that actually had a Game Boy game on it. So, for the sake of just rounding out the very many consoles in this lot, put the Game Boy game in. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. I had a good time with Worms Blast. What was the objective? Oh yes, there's a roster with some hidden characters in Worms Blast. Whoever could unlock the most secret characters, they win the competition. Techno's collection, didn't we already do this? Oh, we did. Let's crash in place. The pinball for the season came from a British developer, Codemasters, for the Mega Drive. It was called Psycho Pinball, arguably one of the best pinball games we have had in any Dirty Dozen, I would say. Probably not my personal best favorite, but probably a second best that we've ever had. There are 4 tables in Psycho Pinball. There's the Psycho Circus table, Wild West, the Abyss and Underwater table, and finally Trick or Treat, a Halloween themed table. To get top the board here, you simply had to get the best score in one of 3 tables, the Abyss, Wild West, and Trick or Treat. Pinball is popular every year. It's no surprise we have many people gunning for the top slot there. Jalico collection had a whole different bunch of games for Nintendo and Super Nintendo: sports, adventure, action, strategy, arcade. A very tough decision with this one. I really wanted to go with a certain fighting game on here, but we went with the Ignition Factor, a game about firefighting. I felt like the heroics of being a fighter and the innovation of approaching this type of topic in a video game was unique and worth recognizing. The Ignition Factor can you save people from a towering inferno? And let's see. Finally, the game will be playing today. We are docked at Starbase Alpha to celebrate, in my opinion, the most romantic game in the roster. A game that has captivated many people who were playing on the scoreboard this season, including myself. It is the least technically capable game in the entire roster. It is the only game. We have 16-bit, 32-bit, 8-bit games, even arcade games. There is only one 4-bit game in the entire roster, and that, my friends, is Dear Sweet Solaris. Solaris is a fantastic title that looks that is far deeper than it first appears. So much that some people were daunted and didn't even bother to get into the cockpit to try and find Solaris, a mythical planet that is said to be safe from all the other many threats of the galaxy. It is your job to take off from Starbase Alpha and explore the vast galaxy to look for a single blinking planet, the only element on the galactic scanner aside from your own ship that blinks. If you can find Solaris, then you have saved the galaxy. Has anyone been able, in the 3 weeks that we've been playing Solaris, among the rest of the dozen, has anyone been able to manage to find Solaris? Well, let me tell you a story. It was about 2 days ago, and I woke up very early in the morning, before dawn, to get my day started. I had to head out to go to work. I usually like to get up and take a shower and then drive out. Usually, not to get too graphic, but usually I spend a few minutes using the washroom when I wake up, and that is when I check my phone to see what kind of video, whether it be a broadcast or video, I be listening to as I commute to work. Well, in the dead of night, while all others slept, there was one person streaming for the Dirty Dozen. Conqueror Worm. Conqueror Worm had been exploring the galaxy of Solaris for a couple of weeks now. And as I entered his channel, I saw him docking and getting refueled and submitting his latest score for the scoreboard. A score breaking 100,000, the first time that anyone in the scoreboard had been able to do so. To see it live was a treat. Because I know Solaris, I know how difficult it can be to get 100,000. But that did not prepare me for what I was about to see. You see, apparently Conqueror Worm was fueling up and submitting his points before heading off into what he claimed was uncharted space in a quadrant just to the east, the west of him, the north of him. So, he fired up the space cruiser, left the atmosphere into deep space, and activated his hyperdrive to bring him to the southernmost portion of an uncharted quadrant. When he entered, things immediately felt off. an alien, because you see, this was the first quadrant that he ever called up on his galactic scanner that came up in black. Most quadrants are colored, whether it be blue or green or red, all having different meanings. But this is the first time Worm, in all of his travels, had ever encountered a black quadrant. Well, instinctively, he put his star cruiser into idling and began to map this quadrant. But that's when he saw it. In one of the most hard to find parts of the quadrant, nestled in a sea of impassable star clusters, was a single blinking planet. Unreachable to our friend at the moment, but there it was on his scanner. Dividing him from Solaris itself was a long-reaching canal of star cruisers, and to his dismay, the only corridor in the space that he could take to finally reach and land on Solaris and finish his grand space saga, one corridor was being patrolled by 3 elite Cobra fleets. And if you know anything about Solaris, there is no fighter deadlier in the Solaran galaxy than the Cobra fleets. What was Wormy to do? Well, first things first, there was an armada of Kolgaran space pirates just a couple sectors away from him. He engaged them with 3 star cruisers remaining, and we will get back to what happened to Conqueror Worm at the conclusion of our voyage. Did he make it? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself. Let's get to Solaris. At the bottom of the hour, we'll be opening up the chest. And of course, at the end of the show, we do have some questions from you fine people out there. From myself, the captain. Alright? It's Solaris for the 2600. Oh, don't take off yet. Oh boy. We're already out there. On our galactic scanner, you can see one thing blinking. It's an X. You are here, Captain Reyes. That's my star cruiser. I have 3 star cruisers, 2 in reserve in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. And I have a timer telling me when all of the various factions are going to be moving in this quadrant. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Watch the ships. 4, 3, 2, 1. You see? Everyone's moving. A living, breathing galaxy. While we are being approached by some Xylons, let's make sure we can intercept them before they try and attack our friendly planet that we have just left orbit of. Xylon mothership. Easy to handle. I'm using my tracking computer to put the icon, the white icon, in my crosshairs to give me an idea as to where to go next in this sector to clear it of enemy forces. And when I see that my targeting computer has gone blue, the sector is clear, and it's time to move on. I call up my galactic scanner, and I see that there is another evil-looking armada near that crosshaired star there, which is my starbase. That's the only place I can refuel, so I want to guard it. We're going to head over there now, activating our hyperdrive. And we're zipping to this very sector where that armada is located. They're coming in fast. It looks like it's some Calgaran space pirates. And I believe I see a Xylon mothership on the horizon there. Bingo. We've got another one reading. No, the sector is clear. Okay. Where do I want to go next? There's a blockade here headed east. This whole area you're seeing is known as a quadrant. This is Quadrant Alpha. Let's head over to Starbase Alpha, where the gaming Galleon is docked, by the way. And we'll refuel before deciding which quadrant we're going to move to next. Will we continue to clear enemy forces in Quadrant Alpha, or will we move to another quadrant and explore the vastness that is this game? Fully fueled, it's time to take off. We're going to head west. I happen to know that there is a Xylon planet there that is holding Ataran citizens captive. We are an Ataran star cruiser. It's our job to recover as many... Oh my god, I just got blown up by a mine. Damn it. We're in a minefield here. This is the blockade. Be very careful here. We've lost the star cruiser already. Score was a big factor in the Dirty Dozen season. The blockade has been cleared, and once we've cleared it, you'll see that we're now on the left side of a different colored sector with a whole bunch of other stuff going on, including a planet with rings. That is a home planet of the enemy aliens that are trying to enslave our race. It is our job to go down to the planet and recover any prisoners. If we can do so, they will join our side, recover one of the enemy spacecrafts, and fly out with us as we destroy the planet. And the best part about it is, now that we've destroyed that planet and recovered that person, we've got another ship. We're back up to 3 star cruisers once again. There is a wall of star clusters as far as the eye can see here. All of those star clusters are impassable. So I suppose I'm going to have to just leave and head back the way we came. Now, unfortunately, all of the other quadrants, there are things going on. There are friendly planets being attacked by various alien creatures. The different alien factions will sometimes war against one another. But the important thing to take in is the galaxy is always breathing. The galaxy is always thinking. The galaxy is always expanding. And you have a direct hand in deciding and finding out and the result. Now, unfortunately, we got to this sector too late, and these space pirates destroyed a starbase. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to back off, and we are going to refuel at Starbase Alpha. Were we quicker, we could have saved Starbase Beta and refueled there, but it is destroyed forever because we were too busy taking the fight to the Xylon homeworld. We did some good, we recovered someone, we saved their lives, but at what cost? An entire friendly Ataran planet was destroyed in the process. So with 14,800, we will sit there. We'll refuel and regroup. And we'll come on back to the ship for a little booty. So that's Solaris. The objective, as far as the Dirty Dozen is concerned, the main objective of Solaris is to find planet Solaris. In the Dirty Dozen, the objective was to get the highest score, but you have to dock and submit your score, which is what we have just done. We just submitted a score for 14,800. Now we can go back out into the galaxy and see if we can amass any more, which we will do after we hit the old booty. Okay? This is a great lot. Ooh, boy, wowie zowie. So, the Evercade, here's the home model, which is what we've been using to play Solaris today. Oh, put it up to the mic. Why not? There she is. The Evercade versus 4-player. Pretty snazzy looking. It's not very popular. Not very popular. Many reasons for that. Doesn't have the marketing of, say, a Sony or Microsoft, nor does it have the lineage. The Evercade is only 3 years old. Another big reason is it's British. It's a British console. When's the last time you bought a British console? The only one that comes to mind aside from the Evercade is the Intellivision, a system that was made decades ago, and even at the time was not leading the pack. Certainly a bigger name than the Evercade ever has been. But the fact that this is coming out of Britain puts it behind a console that was produced in America or a console that was produced in Japan. So, there are many people that not only don't recognize this console, there are some people who don't think it's a real console. And a big portion of the people who feel that way are retailers. Now, the games are relatively cheap, but the newer ones are. Some of the older ones, like, say, Techno's Collection 1, was unreleased, or they stopped making it. No longer in production. Which has made this game go up to over $100 to $200 just for a used copy. People are buying it for that level. I don't think that it's worth that, but this is truly a collector's console, and there are some people who just got in late and now they want every game. So if you're looking at something like this, or even the Oliver collection, which is right here, these are both out of print. The Oliver Twins collection hasn't hit the $200 mark yet, but I have seen it go for over $100 on a bad day. So, there you have it. So even though there's a real market for these, most retail gaming shops just don't recognize it. So if a guy walks in with an Evercade and some games to your usual Hobunk store, a GameStop, or maybe even a disc replay, they may say, there's nothing I can do for you. We can't take this. This is a little too close to a Chinese knockoff system for us. Can't do it. Well, once we got on board with the Evercade and I found it and 11 games for the Dirty Dozen season, I found that in Illinois. All together, all wrapped up. You either had to buy it all or buy nothing. That's when I decided to come back to Indianapolis, where the Galleon is usually called home, and look around and see, does anyone have any Evercade stuff? Has anyone brought it in to the many retro stores here in Indianapolis? Well, I stopped at one place and I asked them, do you have any Evercade stuff? And at first, they didn't know what I was talking about. And they had to look it up and say, oh, interesting. Hadn't heard of that. No, we don't have any of that stuff in the store here. Which I expected. So I left. And as I'm just about to get into my car, I stop. And I think, you know what? Worth a shot. And this, my friends, is a very good tip for any of you who are looking for something a little under the radar. I walked back in and I said, hey, isn't your store networked with all of your other stores? And she said, yes. Yes, they are. And I said, well, do you think you could check your network and see if there's any Evercade stuff? And she said, yeah, let me take a look. And so she calls it up, and she finds a long list of Evercade games that someone had brought into one of her branches out in Pennsylvania. All the way out in Pennsylvania. And I said, oh, wow, how neat. She's like, yeah, I'm surprised how cheap these go for. I said, well, how cheap? Now, when Evercade releases a game, they release it for $20. If it's been out a little longer, but it's still being produced, you can usually find them for somewhere between $25 to $30 before shipping. And obviously some of them, like the Technos collection, way more. Well, I said, how much are you selling them for? Because she said the way it works is they can move them to their store and then they'll remark the prices different from whatever it was in Pennsylvania. It's its own price here. We've got all the prices right in front of us. Now we just need to get the inventory here so that you, the customer, can buy it. So I said, so what are these selling for? She's like, oh, it looks like we're selling them for $10 each. Well, I used my practice poker face and said, oh, $10. Well, that sounds reasonable. Which ones you got there? And she said, now keep in mind, everything that you order, there's a $2 shipping. Someone's actually going to be driving them from Pennsylvania to Indianapolis. So $12 each. Well, I looked at the list, which was long, and I pulled the games that we did not have in the Dirty Dozen. Are you ready to see them? Let's take a look. Alright, blind pulls here. Blind pulls. Keep in mind, there are other games than Technos Collection and Oliver Twins that no longer are in production. And henceforth, as a result, are worth a little bit more than $25 to $30. Let's see what we got for $12 each. What do we got here to start? The Mega Cats Studio Collection. 10 games. I'm under the impression this is an indie developer, and I don't think I've played any of these games, so we're just gonna have to take a look. It's got a game called Coffee Crisis. I believe I do remember Coffee Crisis coming out. I think it's a beat 'em up where you play a couple of baristas. You've got a game called Tanzer here. Looks like some sort of side scroller. We've got Creepy Brawlers. This is some sort of boxing game. And then what's this? Another Hero, which looks like Double Dragon to me. So it looks like this is a collection of games that are clearly inspired by older Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. Not sure how good these are. I have no idea. I've heard Tanzer is very good, but that's about all I know. These will be completely blind to me going in. So that was $10. Let's see what's next. Our next one, they're all $12. This one I'm really excited about. I found out about this game as I was researching the games that we have for the Dirty Dozen. And it's only got 2 games on it. Xeno Crisis, which I hear is some sort of Smash TV twin stick shooter with maybe a Predator versus Alien theme. And Tanglewood. Tanglewood, from what I understand, was made for the Sega Genesis, and you play a fox. I have to say I'm very excited to try Tanglewood. It sounds like it's just a game of discovery to me. Not sure what to expect there, but it looks great. You play that little fox. And then I think on the other side, I love these manuals. There's only 2 games, so each side gets its own top there. Xeno Crisis and Tanglewood. Very much looking forward to the Dirty Dozen season wrapping and trying Tanglewood. Okay. Indie Heroes Collection 1, 14 games. Less than $1 a game. We're getting this for here. This has games like Flea, I guess. Some sort of... Oh, look, it comes with stickers. How wonderful. Some sort of platformer, I hear Flea is. The game I'm excited about here, I think is a... I think there's a Game Boy game on here. Some sort of black and white game, maybe? So if we have any choice... There's like a Smash TV clone that stars the characters on that can be found on this disc in their own games. The Deus. I don't know what that game is, but it looks interesting to me. It's black and white. I don't know about that one. Seems like it's got a noir motif. This is a game that was made by a programmer and his daughter, called Doodle World. Amazing stuff, huh? And then, yeah, there's some sort of super homebrew war. Which sounds like it's a Smash Brothers type of game and stars the characters that are on this disc. That would be fun if I can get 4 people together in front of the verses. Alright. What do we got next? Oops. So what drove me to start asking around for Evercade? Well, I knew that some of these games were no longer in production. And the lot that we got for the Dirty Dozen, while it was very varied and fun, shockingly, had no role-playing games in it. The Evercade, for the most part, Has a lot of action titles, fighting and brawlers and platformers, shoot 'em ups, that stuff. Role playing games seem to be a little harder to find, except for one cart. There was one cart that was released early in the Evercade's life that had role playing games. And it was stopped in production by the time I got into the Evercade scene, meaning I couldn't order it unless I was getting it for a scalper price. Well, whoever bought these got it. This is another game that is somewhere between 60 to 100 to, on a really bad day, 150 to 200. It's got 20 games on it, beat 'em ups, role-playing games, old Nintendo games, games like Draken's on this, 8 Eyes, Power Punch 2, Top Gear, Dragon View, just a whole host of spectacular games. The Immortal, the Genesis version of the Immortal's on here. Fantastic stuff. This was like number one as far as games I wish I could get for the Evercade. And there it was, sitting in Pennsylvania. And according to my store in Indianapolis, it was worth $12. $10 plus $2 shipping. I can't wait to dig into this. Huge move. Huge move. Atari. We've had so much fun playing Atari on the Evercade between Solaris and Motorcycle. We have both collections for the Atari Collection 1 and 2, but there's more Atari available on the Evercade. There's the Atari Arcade 1. Not too impressed with that one, but there are a couple of Atari Lynx collections, and we found one of them. Atari Lynx Collection 2, which has things like California Games, Chip's Challenge, Todd's Adventures in Slime World, Electro Cop. Most of these games are pretty well known if you know anything about the Lynx. Blue Lightning. The games that I'm really excited about on this, though, is this particular collection has both shooters that were made for the Lynx. There were only 2 shooters that were made for the Lynx as far as just traditional horizontal and vertical scrolling. One of them being Zarlor Mercenary, which I hear is fantastic. Hard game to buy in retail, in the secondary market today. It's expensive, maybe $40, $50. So I've never gotten to play it, nor have I gotten to play Gates of Zendikon. Now we have both of them right here. Fantastic stuff. Alright. What's this? Okay, here's another dual cart. These are 2 8-bit games. And another one that I really had my eye on. Always Awakening is about a wizard girl. And then Cathedral is about some sort of no-named knight. Cathedral's really the one that stands out to me, believe it or not. Usually I go for magicians and wizards, but I just, I don't know what to tell you. That one looks really good to me. I don't know anything about these games. I've never played them, but apparently they are good enough to share their own cart. And I think for anyone into fantasy, this is one of the carts to have. So pretty fantastic to find this for $10. 3 more. Pico Collection 2, which could not be more different from Pico 1. For better or worse. Oh, you got some more stickers here. While Pico Collection 1 really showcased role-playing games, Pico Collection 2, believe it or not, has nothing but sports games. You have Beast Ball, Hoops, Shut Up and Jam, not Barkley, Shut Up and Jam, Hoops, Shut Up and Jam. They had to drop the Charles Barkley to be able to get this game on. I believe it has Shut Up and Jam 1 or 2, and 2. Top Gear 2, again renamed as Top Racer. Eliminator Boat Duel, a decent game on the Nintendo. You've got Winter Challenge, Soccer, more racing. How many games are on this? 13 games. 13 sports games. All packed onto one cart. Is it the most attractive? Would I take this over Pico 1? No. Absolutely not. But for $10, I'm in. And I'm sure that there's some fun to be had here. Especially if you get it on the verses with other players. Another unreleased game. This game, not holding the same price to the point of Techno's Collection or Oliver Twins or Pico 1. We have Namecoat Collection 2. Why? Because believe it or not, when Nameco licensed their games to the Evercade, they licensed them right at the beginning of the company's start, which was when the only hardware the Evercade had out was this sucker. A handheld device. You could plug it into your TV and play on TV, but for the most part it's a handheld device. When the Versus came out, a home console, a couple years later, Namco had not agreed to this. So as a result, this cart and its brother, Namecoat Collection 1, they can't play on this guy. How about that? This is only available for play on handheld Evercade devices. The OG Evercade, the Evercade EXP, and the Super Pocket. So be forewarned, those who have Versus. If you've only got the Versus, you won't be able to play this. Namco, I've gone on the record to say I'm really not a big fan of Namco. Most of their games just seem to be extremely repetitive, extremely over-the-top cutesy, extremely mazy. They're just not for me. This collection, on the other hand, was almost tailor-made to prove me wrong. Because it's, for the most part, 90% of the games on this are games that I do genuinely enjoy from Namco. What do we have on here? Pack Attack, I mean, it's a puzzle game. At least we're not amazing. I like puzzle games. I used to play Pack Attack. Burning Force and Dragon Spirit, two excellent, one Nintendo, one Genesis game shooters. What else is on here? Galaga's on here. I could play Galaga all day. Dig Dug 2, not really that hot on. Probably one or two games I don't really care about here. Galaga and Philios. Philios, fantastic Genesis Greek mythical shooter. And then, believe it or not, Splatterhouse 2 and 3 are on this guy. Pretty cool stuff. Tower Jiraga is on here. And just to round it out, what else we have? Warp Man, never been a big fan of that one. And believe it or not, Weapon Lord. Fantastic. I'm not sure the Versus is going to be the controller to really showcase Weapon Lord, but fantastic to see it on here. Very good barbarian 2D shooter fighter for 16-bit consoles. Pretty good. All right, now to wrap it up, at the beginning of the season, a friend of ours, the morning after kill, saw that we were doing the Evercade and saw that some of the games that we got to play were sealed. One of them being Technos Collection 1. I think it's over here. In fact, both Oliver Twins and Technos Collection 1 were sealed when we got them. And our friend the morning after kill said, "You're not really going to unseal that, are you? You're not really going to unseal Technos Collection 1, are you? You realize what a new copy that's going for? It's going to drop in price." Well, I found these games and ordered them in the middle of January. And they showed up at the game store just 2 days shy of the beginning of the season. And one of them was Technos Collection 1 for $10. And it was like this. Open. For us to play Crashing the Boys right out of the box at the beginning of the season. Which meant, well, I guess if we have this one, we may as well keep the one that we found originally in the plastic wrap. Still sealed. Well, there you have it. How do we do? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 titles here. $10 each. Each of them also having $2 shipping. Let's keep that in mind. So 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96. And the last one's always the hard one. $106. $106. And if we were really hurting, we sell Technos Collection 1. We get it all for a song. How about that, huh? Alright, that's it. I think we're way over time. Let's get one more in here. And then we'll get back to it. It's Solaris for the 2600. Alright, here we go. Taking off already. Let's do one more go about. Let's head south. This is a game you can never play. You can never play this game. Oh, darn it. And get it done in one voyage, okay? The game. Most Atari games are used to playing like Miss Pac-Man. It's 90 seconds. This game, you'll be at it for half an hour. It depends on how good you are. It's a dangerous place. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sweep away the Calagon Space Pirates, the Xylon Raiders, who are surrounding another friendly Ataran Starbase. We're gonna make sure that they live another day. We took out this star here with the many different points. The 8-pointed star, that's a starbase. You'll notice that they've got some Cobra fighters here who are coming closer. Some Xylon fighters. They're surrounding our starbase. We can't have that. We have to defend our own. Especially because it's the only place we can refuel. Mothership, 12 o'clock. Whew. I cannot believe how overtime we are. How can we be this overtime? There's no way. I think we're past an hour already. We've still got mailbag to do. I better just tell you what happened to Wormy now, huh? So where were we with Conqueror Worm? Conqueror Worm, he had found Solaris. He couldn't reach it because there were 3 Cobra fleets blocking him. And a Galleon space pirate. So he started at the easy spot and said, let's deal with the space pirates. Look, there's some Cylons attacking our starbase. You see that? We gotta go there immediately. We only have 40 seconds to get them off the planet. If we can't get them off in 40 seconds, they'll destroy our starbase. We won't be able to refuel, and the entire quadrant will change physics. Will reverse its physics. And we won't be able to pilot our ship nearly as effectively. This is high stakes here. We gotta get these guys off quickly. I'm doing a pretty good job clearing them. We missed one of them. Woo! Ooh, it took out my targeting computer, but I believe... Yes, we did it. We saved the starbase. Alright, we'll leave it there. Exciting stuff. They've repaired our targeting computer, refueled us. And we live to fight another day to protect the galaxy. Save the Ataran race. And maybe, just maybe one day, find the planet Solaris. As for Conqueror Worm, he engaged the Galleon space pirates. He still had 2 starfighters left. And that is when, in the inky blackness of space, his ship no longer responded to controls. It began to go into an endless tailspin. Worm had no idea what the situation was until he realized that, to his dismay, after coming so far and seeing Solaris occupying the same quadrant as that mythical planet, he realized to his dismay that his controller had run out of batteries. He had no spare controller and had to simply sit there and watch his ship endlessly loop until it was destroyed by pithy Galleon space pirates. Better luck next time, my friend. Alright, let's check the mailbag here real quick. Look, I'm going to be honest. I kind of dialed it in. And I didn't even bother. I couldn't even be bothered to put your questions on paper. Okay? But I have them here. Zadrian asks, which Dirty Dozen has been your favorite so far out of all of them? That's impossible to answer. There are too many magnificent things that have happened every year. From the first year, when I went down this brave path with one other brave soul, and we made our way through it, to the third year, where we actually dropped objectives on everyone for the first time. That was a magnificent time. And on a side note, I was playing Hero Quest every week throughout the season as well. Sega Genesis games for a month. Don't get me started. Game Boy Advance. The moment that we saw Photub find the missing... I don't know if it was a diamond. Yeah, it was a diamond. A gem. The final missing gem for Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Game Boy Advance. Seeing that live was fantastic. That was a fantastic month. And of course, last year, PlayStation, I don't know, maybe if someone was going to chop my hand off if I didn't answer, maybe last year. And I say that only because the roster was just so strong. We had Twisted Metal 4, Echo Knight, and Final Fantasy VIII, all games that I enjoyed thoroughly. But every year, I don't think that anyone's ever come to me and said, that was really the good year. I've always been worried about that. Doing this event every year is peaking. Is there ever going to be a point where people be like, it was awesome when it started, but it's kind of bottomed out? I don't think that I've seen that yet. And you would think if there's any chance of that happening, it would be this year with, less than popular console, an unknown console. But the scoreboard is hopping just as much as it ever was. People seem to be fighting for the top. And I have had no problem playing these games. I'm excited to play more games in March, different games. But I've had so much fun with games like Fighter's History and Solaris and Cybattler that I feel like my gaming plate is full. So sorry, hard to say with that one. Really, maybe PlayStation. I don't know, hard to say. Count Pupper asks, I'm looking for Solaris. Can you help me? You're barking up the wrong tree. I'm nowhere near it. Sect asks if you could vacation at any one locale of a Dirty Dozen game from this year, what would it be? Easy. Come on. Worms Blast. Tropical setting. You're on a boat. You've got weaponry. Colorful. Steel drum music everywhere. No contest. I think that's all we got. I think we got one more here. Let me check. Oh yeah, one more. This one's from Milton. Dear Captain, if you could travel back in time to January and repick one of this year's dozen games, which would it be? Well, I hate to say it. It would probably be the Ignition Factor, the firefighting game. Not just, I don't know what the problem was. Was it the controls? Super Nintendo. I don't know. Something about Super Nintendo doesn't resonate with me the way it used to when I owned it as a teenager. Then again, if it's your only system, it's going to resonate with you. This game in particular, though, no. It's not the lowest game on my list, but it came at a heavy price. I put it in because I felt like it was innovative and it promoted heroism and a little bit of strategy. I feel like this roster was kind of lacking in strategy. There's no role-playing game in this roster. So it had to come from somewhere. But, honestly, I wanted Brawl Brothers, which is a beat 'em up. A fantastic beat 'em up that had 5 characters, and it even had 2 different campaigns. I would have loved to have played this, but I just felt like putting this and Fighter's History in for both Super Nintendo games was just retreading the same source material, the same basic genre. So I gave Ignition Factor a shot. I'm not, not everyone feels that way. There are some people who enjoyed the Ignition Factor, but it just wasn't for me in comparison to the rest of the roster. So if I really had to change one, it'd probably be that. But that's it. That's one man's opinion. All right, we've gone way over. I want to thank you for participating in the Dirty Dozen. And I want to thank you for stopping by the old ship today. And I will leave you there for now. So until next time, we have 3 days left in the season. There are many people who are still vying for the top slots. And I want to thank them. Too Many Dimension? I don't know about that. Let's see if we can get this in. How's this looking? What have I done to this board? Oh, I know what I've done. 1 second. There we go. Let's check it out. With 3 days remaining in the season, we have Starman leading Psycho Pinball as the Flip Freak. Count Pupper leading in Motor Psycho as the Cycle Killer. Wake and Play in Fighter's History as Karnov's Kumite Conqueror. Sorry if you can't see these. I'm going to bring them down a little bit. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Sorry. That's from 2 years ago. This is why I shouldn't have done this. Oh yeah, they're there. We're fine. Should have trusted in this process, Raz. Okay. We have a tie going on in Mysterious Stones. The Smithsonian, a number of people are anxiously waiting to see a tiebreaker for the end of the season. The Patron Bloke of the Yoke Folk also being contested in the Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. Salvatore Solaris, otherwise known as Conqueror Worm, he was able to submit 103,000 in Solaris. Another tie going on in Sydney Hunter and the Sacred Tribes. The Towering Inferno being held by Ex Mortis with a final score of 3,165. The Imperial Invertebrate still yet to be determined, a tie going on in Worm's Blast. Wake and Play, currently the Springfield State Champion, and Crash and the boys. We'll see if he can keep it. Starman as the Sistoden Horror in Earthworm Jim, and then finally in Psy Battler. I don't know if I can get that. Oh yeah, I can do that. We'll move it over a little bit. There we go. We have Conqueror Worm as the Psy Badass. So there you go. Okay? I want to wish everyone luck on this final leg. And I will see you at the end of the pilgrimage. And one other hats off to B-Boy J-Nerd and Count Pupper and Ghost Don't Walk, who I believe are the only ones I know of who are walking the path and only playing 12 games all month, just like myself. Hats off to you, gentlemen. All right, until next time. And when I do to ye fair Spanish maidens, what I do, ye ladies of Spain, for we received orders for to one day find Solaris. And lo, nevermore shall we see ye again. Keep your powder dry, manies.